What up? It's Liz again. Because I figured I may as well use this paint for the next little thing. So, you're going to want to grab a brush kind of like that, a little bit rounded. We're going to do some tulips and other little flowers. So it's super easy, it's just learning brush control, really. You do a little, and then you push down, lift it back up, and it gets smaller, and then you do the same thing over there, and maybe a little one in the middle, depending on how you're feeling. You can do something similar with different brushes. So a lot of people have, boy, that one's stiff, round ones, like the pencil case. As I said, I have just a few paintbrushes. I've collected them along the way. Round brush is really good for tulips and flowers. You just grab a little of a colour and then again you use the tip, press down, lift up. Tip, press down, lift up. That one's not, and you can go over them again if you're not quite happy with it. Because that's just what you do. Oh, that was the really light crimson. So yeah, this one can also be used really easily for other flowers, so like ones with multiple petals. You can change your colours as well as you're going. Whatever really makes you happy. And it can add dimension. Really at this point it's playing around, figuring out which feels good for you. What you feel looks good. That one's a bit weird now because I added the yellow. Yeah, you can make all sorts of little shapes. Grab a little bit of green, and you just do that. You got a stem, out, in, and a nice leaf. As I said, it's really just getting a bit used to the brushes and how the water works with you and with the brushes. It's not about, in my view, it's not so much about controlling the water and the colour, it's about working with them. You can't control it, it just doesn't work that way. Another thing that we should look at is wet on wet and dry on and wet on dry. So I'm going to draw 2 circles. That's not a circle, that's a square, you numbnut. um, two shapes. Aha. And we're going to go wet on wet and wet on dry. Woo! Totally with it today. So wet on wet is, I'm just going to use some water. And yes, this is technically a makeup brush, but it holds a lot of water. So it's very good, in my opinion, for just wetting the paper. Now, I feel I should use the same colour for both of these. So, I'm going to grab this brush, because it's what I found. And I'm going to grab this one, because it's, you know, like this guy. So a lot of the time when you do this, you'll have it on a little bit of an angle, because a lot of people work on an easel, so that's what you'll see them doing. Wet on wet, you really just drag it, and it kind of runs down by itself. And that's, you know, you get a... I'm really not very good at this. You're supposed to do that slowly. Whereas, you know, you can see the gradient, so you wipe it there, and then you grab the bottom of the stuff, and you just wipe it back into the next one. You grab the bottom, the little stuff that's at the bottom, and you just keep moving down. And again, sometimes it doesn't work with you. Sometimes it's mean. I've certainly had my fair share of getting extremely frustrated with watercolours or any paint, really. You should definitely have a go at trying wet on wet and wet on dry, because as you can see there, hopefully, it has a very different feel and a different texture and a different way to do it, so it's very good for different things. Very good for different things that have different uses. Also, it's different because you... Just gonna start a little happy little tree. You start with the lighter colours, because you can't... Sorry, just let me try and... Yes, I also use makeup sponges, because they're very good. Start with the lighter colours, because you can't make the darker light again. That's not how watercolour works. You can't just go over things. It's just not quite how it works. It is going to look a little fluffy. Anyway, I'm going to grab... Oh boy, that's stuck. I'll fix it later. Bit of this yellow. And a bit of the lighter blue. think the new lighter blue made a nicer green. And yeah, you just add on top of it. It's all about building up, really. I'm using the sponge to dry it quicker so that it can come out in the thing. Sponges are also really good for textures sometimes. I'm going to grab a teeny bit of this and add some more water so it's light. That was probably a bit too much water. And then I'm going to make... See, told you, too much water. A little. Silly little tree with some silly little branches. And then we add some more blue. Actually, what we want is we want to add a bit of the darker blue because it'll really make that a bit darker, make it a bit of a different colour. And you just pop some of that on there. And again, you want to leave some of the negative space there. I keep saying and again like I've said things before. Yeah, you want to leave some negative space so that you can see the lighter colours through the dark stuff. So like I'm going to do less little blots here now. Add some more of this darker blue. That's a pretty bad tree, I'm not gonna lie, but hopefully you get the idea. That was a bit of a crash hot lesson. Seriously, let me know what you think and what you would like to look at next, or something more in depth. As I said with the colour wheel, great and all that, but don't get me wrong, I still use Pro-Mixed. Use a little bit of everything, do whatever makes you happy. Doesn't really matter in the long run, in my opinion. Yeah. Peace out.